Good afternoon, I'm Chris with Everyman Overland. Here today to talk to you about air systems and specifically the difference between a factory-built Morrflate air system and the do-it-yourself system that I built, so I don't know, it's got to be a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago at this point. If you haven't seen it, that was my wildly most popular video. I'm sure everybody's seen it at this point, especially if you're watching this and kind of want to see the comparison between the two. So what I'll do today is I'll kind of go over the features of each one and kind of go over the cost of each one so you can get an idea if this is something, you know, do you want to build your own or do you just want to just go ahead and buy the Morrflate and be done with it? So all this got started a few weeks ago when I actually put out a video comparing a 1/4-inch system, which both of these use 1/4-inch hose. And I compared a system made out of 1/4-inch to a system made out of 3/8 inch, expecting that I wouldn't see any difference between the two. I was completely wrong, and the 3/8 system, the larger hose, was actually drastically slower. So in the comments of that video, or I think it was actually in a Facebook group and we were talking about the video, I got to talking with Tyler from Morrflate, and he was saying, well, you came up to the same kind of results that we did, and you know, did you try this or did you try that? Did you look at this? Did you look at that? And then we got to talking kind of about the differences between the system that I put together and the system that Morrflate puts together. What components do they use? The actual air chucks on the tires. And I was saying, well, I don't really like this and I don't really like that. And you know, if you've seen my other videos, I've always quoted Morrflate as being the best. Like if you just want to be done with it and you just want to buy the fantastic system, the best one that you can buy out there, buy that one. But there's a couple of things I didn't like about it, so I built my own. And I'm also one of those do-it-yourself kind of guys. I like getting my hands dirty and getting in there and just kind of making my own stuff. So I made my own. But after talking to Tyler, and he said, hey, how about I send you out a system and you just do a comparison? You tell me what you think. Because I told him, first of all, I don't like the air chucks that you guys use. They go on the tire and it marks up. So on Janky here, and actually on all of my vehicles, I run these little aluminum valve caps, right? The little tire valve caps. You can see there. It's actually cut out of aluminum and it's threaded and it's got like a little O-ring in the bottom of it. And this one happens to have an American flag on it. So yay, go America. And the first time that I tried a Morrflate system on one of my trucks, and in fact, I think it was Janky, the air chucks grabbed the tire valve so aggressively that it kind of chingered up the threads on the tire valve. And because I don't run just standard plastic tire valves, I mean, you could screw them in over anything, right? Just little plastic threads. This actually has aluminum cut threads. And as I tried to screw the aluminum valve cap back onto the valve, it didn't want to go on there because the threads had been kind of galled up a little bit, kind of chewed up by the chuck on the Morrflate system. Wow, that's really aggressive. Like, I don't understand. And that was the only time that I dealt with it. But at that point, I just kind of developed this opinion. So, I don't like that. I'm done with that. I don't want to do that. And the tire chucks that I've always kind of preferred are these chucks here. You can see it's got the little lever that locks it on the tire. You just put it on the valve. You do it like that. These are a closed valve system so that it's naturally closed and it doesn't actually open up until you stick it on a tire valve. So you can hook, you know, that tire up and this tire up and it's not spraying out the other end because the other end is closed. But a long time ago, and for a long time, I worked as a tire guy at Discount Tire Company out in the West. I used to live in Arizona. And all of the like tire machines, when we filled up the tires and whatever, all had this kind of chuck. And so my hand just like, you know, people call it muscle memory, whatever. It's just a very comfortable feeling of squeeze that, put it on the valve and let go. And like, it's just kind of what I'm used to. So I like this. And the different tire chuck is just something different. Like, hey, I don't want different. Ew, nobody wants that. Another difference between the two systems, between the one that I made and the Morrflate system, is this digital gauge. I like to use a liquid-filled analog gauge, and Morrflate uses a digital gauge. And while the digital gauge is very accurate, and in fact, in talking to Tyler, he points out to me that a standard analog gauge is most accurate in the middle section, and when it gets really to the low side of things or really to the high side of things, it starts losing accuracy up to the point of 5 or 10%. So if you're out on the side of the trail and you're airing down and you're all the way down here at like 10 or 12 PSI, like it could be off by a full PSI. And though 1 PSI, not that big a deal, when you start getting down, you're like, well, I want to run 10, but maybe you're running 9 or 8.5, it can start making a difference. The digital gauge uses a different type of sensor, and it apparently is accurate throughout the whole range. Like it's always accurate. And it's easy to read, and it's backlit, so if it's dark outside and you're doing this at night, it's real easy to see. What I don't like about it is it takes batteries. And inevitably, there's gonna come a time where you're out on the trail and the batteries go dead and you don't have a spare set of batteries, and now I don't know how much air is in my tires. A couple other differences here at the manifold are, on my system that I built myself, it just has this standard ball valve, right? You can see you just rotate the lever just like that, and air comes in or goes out, or it doesn't come in, it doesn't go out, right? Depending on how you have that set. And Morrflate actually uses this slide valve, right? It is now closed, or you slide it up and that opens the valve. And really, like, as I'm out on the trail or, you know, wherever I'm at, if I'm using a ball valve and you're just like, I kind of don't care. Tyler explained to me as we were talking, he said, well, we were having problems that the ball valve tends to wear out. And so after a year or so of usage, it starts to leak. And so if you close it off, it might be leaking out a little bit. And so that looked like a spot for potential failure or just a spot for customer complaints. And they thought, let's do this better. Let's use a slide valve, and let's kind of perfect this action here with the slide valve just to make sure that going down the road, our customers don't have trouble. The other difference between a standard Morrflate system, the systems that I've seen in the past, and the one that I built is, this one that I built has these air connections on it so that you can disconnect the hoses from each side. The standard Morrflate, which this is not, the hoses are just screwed right into the side of this manifold, and so the whole system is all one piece. You can't disconnect this. This apparently is what they refer to as their Stubby Manifold. And so when you go online and purchase it, and this is a bit of an upgrade, it's a few more dollars, whatever it is, you just purchase the Stubby Manifold, and then you can choose whatever length of air lines that you want coming off of this. So if you're buying one, I highly recommend doing it this way. When it comes time to store this away, being able to disconnect the manifold from the hoses, or really more importantly, being able to disconnect one hose from the other, makes storing it, wrapping it up, makes everything so much easier. When they're connected together, everything gets twisted around weird and you have to figure out how to pile it up. It's a lot harder. So if after this video you decide to go order yourself a Morrflate, get the one with the Stubby Manifold. Really does make a difference. So now let's talk about the hose that's used. In the early Morrflate systems, they were actually using Flexzilla hose, which is exactly what I'm using here. And if you're doing it yourself, like I can't even imagine somebody not using the Flexzilla hose. It's fairly inexpensive, it's good quality, it's easy to find. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it in whatever length you want, and it does a very good job. It's very flexible. Apparently it doesn't freeze, like you can go out when it's freezing and whatever, and it still stays very pliable. But again, as I was talking to Tyler about the differences, he says, you know, we came up with our own proprietary hose. Now, they're not manufacturing the hose in-house, but they went out to a supplier, and I said, hey, this is kind of what we're looking at for a hose. These are the problems we're having. So I guess it wasn't a major problem, but they had seen a few failures where they have the crimped connectors on the end of the hose, right where those meet up. They were seeing failures of the hose because of corrosion. I guess a little bit of water was getting in there and it wasn't being protected quite as well as it needed to. It's something to that effect. We didn't get into a ton of detail, but he did say that they came up with a new hose. They developed this new hose that has a different coating on it, and since then they haven't had any problems at all. And I can tell you right off the bat, just by touching this hose, I told him, hey, send me a couple feet of it just so I can look at it and I can look inside and I can see kind of what it's doing. As soon as I pulled it out of the bag, like you can feel that this is a different hose. This is very slick. This is a very slick, very smooth, almost like a Teflon coated surface. Whereas on the Flexzilla, it's still smooth, but it's not as glossy, if you will. It's not quite as smooth. It's got a little bit more grip as you're pushing with your thumb on it. This slides a little bit easier. One way or another, whether it's slippery or whether it's grippy, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the function. What does matter is that I can tell you for sure this is not just rebranded Flexzilla hose. This is actually a different hose. It's a completely different product, and it just kind of goes to show that Morrflate has done their homework and has listened to customers and has looked for areas where things might fail and looked to fix them. Fixing problems before they're really a problem, that's awesome. So the last big difference between the two systems, the one that I created or that most do-it-yourselfers are doing, and the Morrflate system is right here at the end. Morrflate is using a crimp style fitting that you can see there, where this is an industrial crimp. It crimps onto the hose. It's very solid, it's very secure. It's not gonna come apart, right? But what it is not is field serviceable. I've chosen the Flexzilla hose end couplings, where it's got this like little springy thing that helps stop you from pinching the hose, and that's a little bit helpful. But most importantly, this joint screws together, compressing the hose in between there, as opposed to just being crushed on. So the fact that this is threaded can come apart and go back together means that this is field serviceable. So if something happens and the hose gets cut down here at the end or even up here, I can just cut the hose off, unscrew this, put this all back together, and I'm back up and running. If you have a problem with the hose, you know, down here somewhere, you spring a leak, this is not field serviceable. You're gonna have to figure out a different way to get home, or figure out how to air up, or maybe air up 2 at a time because you can disconnect 2 of the tires. Whatever it is, you're gonna have to figure out a different solution. This is a potential problem. I don't know that this is a problem. You know, I've also told people a lot that, sure, like the crimp, it's not as good. This is a failure point and it's not field serviceable. But if you're not having problems with it breaking, and you never, you know, if these aren't breaking, then it's not really a problem. A potential problem, possibly, but not a real problem. So now let's talk about a couple of things that the Morrflate system comes with that your do-it-yourself kit does not, which you can just order up, but I never did, and I actually, hey, I kind of like this. Morrflate system comes with these great little Velcro straps to strap everything back together so it doesn't end up looking like that, right? This is just a great big mess, and I stuff this down into something. Here with the Morrflate, you wind it up, got a nice little strap there, keeps everything nice and collected and much more organized. The bag. Morrflate sends a very nice bag. It's actually very thick. It's got this exterior compartment on it so you can keep extra tools or extra parts, whatever you want to in there. It's a very good thick material, and it's got this mesh compartment on the bottom, or just kind of a mesh piece, that if you stuff this back in and it's all wet, you can hang it up. All the water and the mud and whatever can just drip out the bottom. That's real nice. Mine didn't come with a nice bag because I made it myself and I was too lazy to order a bag. Also included with this kit, which I think is an option, are these little end cap covers. Like you can see here, this is the tire chuck, and you can see that's when it's kind of open. You push it on the tire and then push that up like that. They included these little caps so that you put this over here like that when you take it off the tire, and then as you're dragging it through the mud, as you're winding it up, whatever, you don't get a lot of mud, you don't get a lot of water down inside of this, which can corrode and start to affect the valve in here. So these little rubber caps, it's kind of cool. And speaking of little rubber caps and valve caps, they included these little rubber caps that actually go over the end of the valve. Now, these are kind of long, and as I started putting them on, I tried to push it on, it doesn't want to go all the way on, so they stick out a little bit. And I thought to myself, I'm going with the first mud hole I go through, it's gonna rip these things off. Well, they've been on the truck for almost 2 weeks now, haven't come off. I drove through the mud, I drove all over the place. They work great, they're easy to take on and off. They keep the end of the valve clean, and like these aluminum ones that I'm used to using, you get a little bit of dirt in there, whatever, and it's kind of hard to get them on and off. And once they've been on the truck for 2 or 3 weeks, if they had some water in there, you get just a tiny bit of corrosion in there, and it can be difficult to unscrew these. So big win for these valve caps. Like they might be silly looking, and they're like 3 inches long or something, or maybe 1 inch, but they work great. I like them. So as time goes on, cost is going to go up and down, or probably not down. Cost will just continue going up. I mean, that's just kind of the way the world works, right? So if you're deciding, well, I want one of these 4-tire air systems, they're really cool and they're helpful, and they really kind of are helpful. Like I've really come to enjoy whether it's the Morrflate or whether it's my own. I don't want to leave home without it. I carry it with me all over the place. I love them. I think they're fantastic. Not required, not an essential tool, but man, are they nice to have. So how much does this cost you? Right now, and again, times are going to change, but right now when I'm recording this, your standard basic Morrflate system starts right about $200 and goes up. Different options you can add. Do you want the stubby fitting so that you can disconnect things? Do you want it with or without a gauge? You can use your own gauge on these things. Do you want it with or without the little rubber covers? You know, you kind of choose. I want this and I want this and I don't want that and I don't need that, and you can kind of tailor the thing to cost what you can afford. The do-it-yourself setup. So I built this system a little over a year ago, year and a few months ago, something like that. At the time, for all of the components as they came together, I think I bought everything on Amazon. Everything all together was right around 160 bucks. I just built another system for the 3/8 test, and I built it all out of 3/8, but most of the components were right about the same cost. And that one cost me almost $180, but because some of the components were more, I would say that an accurate cost on this one right now today, bugs. For an accurate cost on this one right now, you'd be looking right around $170. So you can save yourself 30 bucks by doing it yourself and still having good quality components. Another advantage to doing it yourself is you can kind of custom tailor the lengths to exactly what you want. Now, that said, you can purchase small, medium, and large, or medium, large, extra large. There's 3 different sizes of the Morrflate system. So, bugs! There's 3 different sizes on the Morrflate system. You get to choose what length you want the hoses to be, so you can kind of get in there. If you have a Jeep, you don't have to have something that's 45 feet long. And if you're driving, I don't know, what's 45 feet long? An F-250, an Expedition, an Excursion. I don't know. If you're driving something that's way too big to have on the trail, you don't have to try and stretch the hoses to make them fit. You just order up the one that fits your vehicle. Beyond that, I don't know that there's really any advantages to doing it yourself. The different couplings at the ends, the fitting that are field serviceable, I like those. I think that is an advantage. But again, I've never been out in the field and heard somebody say, my hose broke where the crimp. May not be a problem. Might be just fine. And then of course, if you just like doing things yourself and I lined the thing out and I cut the thing and screwed it together, it's a lot of work, but a lot of people feel good about doing it themselves. So you can really go either way. So where do I end up? Well, I think I am going to retire my old system and I'm going to start using the Morrflate. I don't see any reason not to. I do like the different hose. I have actually really kind of come to like the new tire chucks. The way you push them onto the valve, it actually grabs the valve very well. It's very secure. I haven't had a single problem with the valve cap issue since I've used it. I've used it 3 or 4 times now, just kind of testing out, seeing how I like it. Unfortunately, I didn't get a whole bunch of video for you of me using it out in the wild because it was raining like cats and dogs. It was raining on us. We actually canceled that trip a little bit early because Jay's truck was broken and it was raining and I couldn't get video. And that's the only reason to ever go out in the forest, right? It's for a YouTube channel. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and start using the Morrflate, and old Trusty here is gonna go back into the shop. I'm not gonna throw it away. I'm not gonna sell it. Not gonna get rid of it. I'm gonna keep it around. And if I run into any kind of trouble or if I have problems or whatever, I'll let you guys know. But for right now, I think the Morrflate system is a winner, and that's gonna be my new air system on the trail. So thank you so much to Tyler from Morrflate, not only for sending this out to me so that I can check it out and kind of let my viewers know what I think about this and be able to enjoy this, hopefully for years to come. Tyler and I got to talk. I don't want to get too much into detail, but one of my friends had a small problem with his system. I talked to Tyler about it and he says, yeah, he was kind of that was about the time. Let me send you out some new parts. Let me get you taken care of. Morrflate really appears to be a company that stands behind their product. If you go to Morrflate's website, like there's pictures, they're all out there in their trucks and Toyotas and they're up in Northern California. That's them. Like they go out and they use this stuff. And that's how they got into this industry, I'm sure, is they made their own system like, hey, this is cool. We should sell these things. And yeah, they should because they are cool. But these are guys who get it. These are guys who understand. These are guys who want you to be happy because they're going to see you out on the trail someday and they want you to be able to have the same experience with their products that they do. So good on them. I love the continual improvement, all the different changes that they've made over the last couple of years that they've been selling these. They've got a fantastic product, and I think you should go get your hands on one. If you absolutely refuse, no, I can't spend the extra 30 bucks, or I don't want to, or I just really want to make it myself, there's plenty of good options out there as well. You can make a system just like the one I've got here, and it works great. But in my opinion, for your extra 30, 40 bucks, just get the one that already comes. And look at the bag. Look at that bag. It's a nice bag. So again, thank you, Tyler. Thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate you working together with me. And to all you watching, I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully I see some of you guys out on the trail and you can ask me questions or you can come see this in person. And we'll see you on the next one.